Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are live. I am Adam. This is Open Late. And tonight, we are going to be looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Tele-Viper and Cobra Flight Pod, more affectionately known as the Trouble Bubble. Uh, these are great. As soon as these got announced, I was pretty excited. I might be in the minority in that I am more excited to get a Tele-Viper than I am to get a Trouble Bubble. Personally, the Trouble Bubble is like fun, but it wasn't a GI Joe vehicle that I needed in the 6-inch scale. Regardless, like I said, I wanted the Tele-Viper, and the Trouble Bubble feels like a bonus to me. I'm not upset that I have to get a Trouble Bubble to get a Tele-Viper. I really, wanted two Tele-Vipers, so this works out perfectly. I get two Trouble Bubbles, and the it works. Now I don't know about you guys, but like for me, when they announced the classified line, I made a long list of all the figures that I wanted. And with all the Vipers and all the Cobra Troop builders and all that kind of stuff, I actually even noted how many of them I would want. As I said, with the Tele-Viper, I wanted two. With others, I wanted more. So, like I said, when they announced that the Tele-Viper was coming with the Trouble Bubble, I wasn't upset because I only want two. So it wasn't like I wanted six Tele-Vipers, and so I had to get six, and then I'd be kind of stuck with six trouble bubbles. Um, Two is a very manageable number of a small vehicle, is what I'm getting at. Anyway, um, the execution on this I think is really, really good. I can't even remember what the price point was. Was this $80? It is, or $70. I don't know. Anyways, I'm happy with it and I got it. So let's get into it. But before we do, let's check in with the chat. Star was here a little bit early and had a very good conversation with nobody. Just Star back and forth with Star, which while I was kind of setting up, I saw the comments start coming in, and I thought I was missing comments, but I wasn't. It was just Star commenting to Star. So Star is here. What's it like down where you are? And Star replied, well, pretty much the same as where you are. Samrock is here as well. Star was very happy to to have somebody to talk to. Luke Poulin is here as well. He says, make sure to warm up the Trouble Bubble blaster before connecting it to the white ball joint. I've seen lots of report of people breaking the ball joint by pushing the blaster too hard. Well, I put one together without any issue, but I will keep that in mind for the second one for sure. Smiler67 is here as well, and he is going to open his as well. Toy Connections, love this set. Did you open yours, Ken? I can't remember if you did a video on it or not. So for me, when I've got a figure coming, especially if I'm gonna do an unboxing of it, I don't watch anybody else's videos, and it's not a slight against anybody else's videos. I just want to experience these, for myself. I think sometimes we allow ourselves to sort of get a bias, um, based on other people's reviews or what have you. I would rather have this experience for myself. I watch reviews at like once I open this Trouble Bubble, I want to see what everybody else says about the Trouble Bubble. And that's how I usually am with every sort of new release that I know that I'm going to pick up. If I'm not going to pick up something, I'll watch the reviews right away. Mythic Legions Figura, or not Mythic Legions, Four Horsemen Figura Obscura Red Death, or whatever it's called. I had no interest in picking that up. I've seen the reviews. It looks cool. Not for me. Um, So yeah, Ken, if you did a video, I missed it. But anyway, we can chat about it later when you message me late at night tonight. And there you go. Michael says, I'm living vicariously through Adam. I'm still waiting for mine to ship from Hasbro Post. Oh, so you're going to get yours. But anyway, yeah. Star, does the comic ever go into the combat viability of a vehicle like this? No, for good reason. I mean, come on. The thing would, this is not a viable option. It was in the cartoon all the time, but like it's the hokiest vehicle. It's a jetpack with a bubble on the top. Like it's a weird one. But anyway, Jeff Morris is here. What's going on, Jeff? And Jeremy as well. Jeff says the trouble bubble is so silly. I appreciate it now as an adult, but as a kid, I thought there is no way I would get in that thing. Well, you might get into it if you had to, if you worked for Cobra and that was sort of your job, you probably would. I still can't wrap my head around how Cobra is viable as a career path. Given how many times they've been broke in the TV, like in the cartoons, and how many times they get defeated in the comic book, it just doesn't seem like a long-term sustainable career. But anyway, that's beside the point. Let's take a look at the Trouble Bubble. So here we get the packaging, and this is very similar to the figure packaging, but on a much bigger scale. Obviously, it's much wider, it's much thicker. It's a big box. One thing I will note is that the cardboard on this is really flimsy. It doesn't bother me because I open everything, but I do keep one of each package. And what I've found with the bigger boxes, and this is even bigger than sort of what I'm used to, but like with the Snow Job, with the Valkyries, things like that, where the box gets a little bit bigger, it just doesn't feel as solid as the boxes did. So I don't know if that's intentional. I don't know if that's sort of like maybe it's easier to recycle thinner cardboard or what. I don't know. But it feels like you squeeze it and the box just feels, it doesn't feel as substantial. But I know what you're thinking. Who cares? Agreed. It's something that I noted. Anyway, art on the front, or sort of the digital render. We got all the trouble bubbles in the background. Interestingly, there's sort of like nobody else, so it's just Tele-Vipers and trouble bubbles. Which when it's not a figure box, it's okay. It doesn't really seem odd, but when it's this big, it feels odd. But again, who cares? The art there, he looks, the Tele-Viper looks badass. One thing I always loved about the Tele-Vipers, when the message would scroll across their screens. Sadly, we don't get that with the figure. We don't get that with the art. I did put it in the thumbnail because I just thought it was fun. And then we get sort of the loadout there. This is going to be too big, I think. Well, no, we can kind of scroll it. So there's the art again, a QR code that will take you to the page that'll show you that stuff. I think, I don't even know where that QR code will send you. Then we get the full box, loadout on the back here. So you get the Tele-Viper, you get the alternate heads, the very, very iconic sort of Sonic. I don't know what it's meant to be, but we'll take a look at it. I love it. I love it because I love the nerfy stuff. I love the near future stuff. I'm here for it. And the Trouble Bubble, I mean, fits in that sort of vein perfectly. So I don't really know why the Trouble Bubble never really did it for me, but anyway. And then on the other side, we just get, one full side of the art. The Tele-Viper and Trouble Bubble is number 79 in the collection, if you are keeping track of that. We're now very, very near 100. I think all of the first 100 have been announced, and it's just a matter of getting them in hand. But let's get this guy out of the box, the trouble bubble put together, and we'll chat about it a little bit more. Okay, so like I said, this is the set. I got two. I actually opened the first one already. The box inside here is kind of weird. Like, it doesn't want to come out. I don't know. I don't know if it's stuck on something or what. But it doesn't come out super easily. We get, of course, as we have been getting, we get a sort of foot locker for this. This thing's huge. Like, this is, I think, probably about the same volume as a figure. You know, it's thicker than a figure, but like if you sort of the by volume, I think this is about as much as a standard figure. Now I know what you're thinking, because I always mention it. For this bigger foot locker, did they change the way that it's set up? No, of course not. The handle's still there. It should, like, where the box opens funny. It still opens funny. Anyway, who cares, right? Right. Two bags. Bag number one contains the Jets with the same, like, this is straight out of the vintage. It really is. It still has the super flimsy little tab that, like, it just and then all the other little bits and pieces in the other side. Everybody's favorite part, where I use my knife with my shaky hands. I'll try to cut away from my body going forward so that it's not as stressful for everybody watching. But I need my scissors because I got to clip that out of the package. Let's get that out of the package too, and then I'll get the cardboard out of the way, change the angle of the view, and we'll get rolling. I think my favorite bit is this bit where there's nothing on the camera and you can just hear me fussing with string behind. The trouble bubble, so weirdly the figure is in such a way that the ties, you could just sort of unwind them. Whereas the trouble bubble itself is like tied in, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But I guess at some point it made sense to somebody. And then there's a weird string to, like, hold. I mean, it's not a weird string. The string is like a normal string, but it holds the sort of steering column, I guess, in place. But there it is out of the box. Okay, we'll go. Let me check on the chat, and then I'll go over the trouble bubble as I build it. I'll sort of, call out some of the details. Hey, Ray Paz is here. What's going on, Ray? Mick is here as well. What is going on, everybody? Hope you guys are having a great Friday night. Star, I still wondering what the established purpose of this vehicle is. Garrison duty, jungle patrol. Who knows? It's just it's a funky little thing. that flies around and has, you know, a mine and a gun and some missiles. That's its purpose. Michael, a lot of wasted space in that box. I would tend to agree. I didn't like, normally I kind of go over this bit, and I didn't with this one. So let me just put it back. Yeah, that's how it's set up in the box. Like, it could have been that big. The foot locker could have gone fit right in there, and the box could have been this big. Instead, the box is like, I've got my hand off. Instead, the box is like this big. So I don't know. Yeah, I agree. A lot of wasted space, which makes the box overall, you know, when you sort of have the whole box in hand, it makes it feel flimsy. It makes it feel a little too light. It makes you think that, you know, I don't know, it's just it's a weird feeling. It's whereas, you know, some stuff that comes in a big box, it's really heavy, you kind of go, yeah, this, you know, this feels legit. It feels like there's not enough in there. I am just, for my own sort of, I gotta just line this guy up a little bit, and then I'll just get him to stand up, and then I'll look at the comments, and then I'll look at the trouble bubble, and then we'll look at the figure, and then we'll compare. Okay. What did I say I was gonna do? I said I was gonna adjust the angle. Let me do that. Let me tighten this up. There we go. That'll work. All right. That's trouble bubble, Tele-Viper. Okay, so let's see if this works out on this one. There's a weird thing going on with one of these tabs that's super annoying. Sam, I saw a picture online of a GI Joe that came with a pair of skis. Do you have that figure? Yes, I do. That is Snow Job. I opened him last week. I think it was. Was it last week? Anyway, yes, I do have him, and I opened him, and he is awesome. Jeff Morris, you aren't the only person that noticed those Foot Locker boxes are oriented strange, but I also throw them away, so it doesn't bug me. Yeah, I unpack them and then I put it back. Like, I take everything out, I put it back inside the box, I put the box on a shelf up behind me, and then I will never think about it again. So I don't really care. Eternian Ellipse, what's going on? We're opening toys, and you're hanging out, so we're having a good evening. Well, I hope we're having a good evening. Good grief, look at the size of those missiles. How does that thing even get off the ground? You know what? It's got a like a chin gun. It's got two missiles. It's got this mine thing that kind of fits on, but it doesn't really fit on when it's landed. We'll get there. Luke Poole has so much empty space in that packaging. Hasbro wants to go green, but half the container that brought the trouble bubble from China to be here was air and emptiness. You're not wrong. They could have packed, rough estimate, right? If they really wanted to sort of pack that thing in there, it could have been 30 to 40% less actual volume, I think. Anyway. Star, maybe they have one box size for everything that comes out, so some will be more open than others. Well, that is an absolutely correct point. When they sort of do these things, so this is the thing. The trouble bubble is a weird shape, and you couldn't put it in one of the flatter boxes that the motorcycles typically come in. So it had to be a thicker box. Now, my suspicion is that we will see a couple other things come sooner rather than later in the same size box, because they do absolutely 100% Star. You are correct. They do have like a set number of boxes. Like, they don't design a product and then come up with a box that fits that one. Like, they basically have to map out the boxes. The reason for that is because they have to map out the shipping containers. So, yeah, it seems like a lot of wasted space, but That's just how it works. Jeremy Kimberlin, a lot of wasted space here, but I believe the box is uniform to the price point. Vehicles, i.e., upcoming ferret. Exactly, Jeremy. I think you're 100% accurate. That's the way it works. The price point, the box sort of dictates the price point and vice versa. I don't know if that rule is absolutely true. Like, if you could fit a more expensive thing into that box, you might be able to. Um, I'm looking at the box. I'm like, could you fit a vamp in there? I don't think you could. So, but the ferret is a good call, right? Because the trouble bubble, like I said, the problem with the trouble bubble is that nothing on the trouble bubble is like flat, whereas a motorcycle is more flat. Now the ferret is a four-wheeled motorcycle, so part of it is going to have to be thicker. I'm thinking that the ferret, like if you kind of think of the ferret, imagine the ferret is in front of me. I think if you take the handlebar off and flip it sideways, it'll probably fit in the box that I just pulled the trouble bubble out of. So I think you're probably right, Jeremy, is what I'm saying. Master Versal Toy Hunter is here. What's going on, Eldor? And that is me pretty much caught up on the comments. So let's take a look at the trouble bubble. So you get the trouble bubble like this. Some really, really cool details. I don't know how well they're going to show up on screen, but there is sort of like a targeting screen looking thing on the inside of the bubble, which looks really, really good. On the column, there's some paint apps, some gray, some dark gray to the buttons and things like that. There's also, and it's on a pivot, if I can get it. There we go. Toit. Yeah, it's not okay. So there's also sort of like a navigate, like a G. What am I trying to say? Like a navigation kind of screen there as well. It looks good. I mean, the paint apps are pretty nice. And if this is like the basic thing, I am really excited to see what they do with the hiss, because they've included a lot more little paint apps and little deco hits than I thought they would, both inside and out. The tiny printing on here, I don't know if you're going to be able to make it out. I don't know if it's going to sort of stay in focus. But it says fuse, caution, electric, pull and twist to release. Like, it's actually printed on there. So they do a good job with that stuff. And again, you see some paintwork, some detail in there. Altogether, like, it's pretty solid. Like, admittedly, this is better than I thought it was going to be. I had expectations that we'd get a little bit of like the two shades of gray, but I think there's more going on here than I anticipated there would be, which is a pleasant surprise. And we get a little harness, a little seat belt, so they don't fall out, which actually works pretty well. I put one figure in, which I'll show you in a minute, because I'm not going to take the time to pose that guy up and sort of do it with this one as well. What I will take the time to do is put this thing together. So you get two of these. Here, let's go over what else comes in the box. You get two little tabs. Now these just plug in to the sides of the trouble bubble, and I have a complaint about these, which I'll get to soon enough. We get the two missiles. They have keyed holes on the side. These are keyed. It's not front, like it has a front and a back. It's not symmetrical. They are asymmetrical. We get this chin gun, which there's no paint apps on the chin gun. A little bit of dry brushing, I think, would go a long way on this. Admittedly, I'm probably not going to bother doing that. I don't have time. We get this little mine, which actually, so on the back of the chin gun, you can actually plug this little mine in. So you can store it there, and it's on there pretty good. Like, it's not going anywhere. The problem is, it's thicker than the fins are on the bottom, so you can't leave it on there when the trouble bubbles, you know, on the ground. And I didn't want to have to do it on camera because I knew that it would take longer than I wanted. But there is a little panel that pops off the mine, which is also pretty cool. This is, I will point this detail out as well. There is even smaller printing on this, which there's no way that's going to show up. It says, caution, highly explosive, handle with care to remove, press, latch, release. Really cool details, really, really well done. I'm, like I said, I'm very, very impressed with this. Then we get the propulsion system that mounts on the back, 2 jets. Like I said, it's a jetpack with a bubble. Here's the jetpack, there's the bubble. PE49L7A, which is probably a reference, you know, it's probably a reference to where somebody lives or who, you know, somebody, I don't know. I don't know what it's a reference to, but it probably is. Danger, hot exhaust. On this side, we get the same thing. And then it even marks the Sky Strikers. So it's saying, I presume, you know, it's saying, oh, this trouble bubble has taken out 3 Sky Strikers. I find that very hard to believe. Anyway, let's get this thing together. Get the jetpack plugged on the back. One thing that I find interesting and what I'm used to with like G.I. Joe stuff from when I was a kid is that it would like click in and then it was sort of in there. This doesn't really do that. And this is where my nitpick comes in with this. This is just like a straight round cylinder peg. It's not a mushroom peg. It's not, there's not, like, it doesn't, like, if I put it in here, right, I can just pull it back out. The problem with that is that I want it to stay in, because when I put a missile on, it stays. That's not the issue at all. But when I take the missile off, the little tab comes with it, which to me is kind of, that's my nitpick. It's I don't like that at all. But I mean, in the meantime, it's fine. It looks okay when you leave the missiles on. It's problematic when you take them off. Easy solution, a little bit of Gorilla Glue, and you could just glue the peg in. Yeah, this one does it too. I was thinking that maybe it would click in, like I would be able to sort of push it in far enough that maybe something would bite, would grab, but it just doesn't, which is annoying. Okay, Luke said that people have had issues with this. I didn't have any issue at all with mine. That being said, I don't want to, I'm trying to be gentle with it. Like, I'm not trying to force it. The other one went on just fine, but I could see how that would, I could see how that would happen. And it's on. I mean, I think I see a bit of a stress mark on the chin gun, actually. But maybe that's just me imagining. No, I do. Because it's on both sides. Anyway, I'll heat that up and fix it later. But here, I'll show you what I mean. If I plug this, if I plug the mine into the back of the gun, I can't really figure out a way to get it to sit with the mine. Like the, you know what I mean? Like either the mine sticks out or the gun is too low. So I don't know. That'll just sort of sit off to the side somewhere. We'll just put it right there. The trouble bubble itself, like I said, looks really, really good. And once you get it all together, it actually, like, it's super fun. It's super G.I. Joe, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. There's fins on the bottom. There's a gun. There's a little, you know, a little thing in a bubble, and you go in there, and that's your vehicle. Oh, I'll note one more thing. There's little tabs on the bubble itself, and there are little holes on either side of the trouble, I guess, and then that's the bubble. But they don't, again, they don't have a very sort of positive connection. They don't sort of plug in nicely. It doesn't feel secure when you sort of set it up, which is kind of annoying. But I can live with it, I suppose. Questions, comments about the trouble bubble. You guys have probably been firing away, and I have not been paying attention at all. Let me see. I'm seeing new names in the chat. So let me jump back here and see where we're at. Payne's Toy Samples is here, stopping in to say, hey, you, Payne's Toy Samples. Love my bubbles. Yeah, I was watching Payne's Toy Samples Friday Night Toy Therapy earlier, and yeah, I saw the little twinkle in your eye when you pulled up your bubbles. Luke, if the his tank box keep the same dimensions, we will be able to do a sleepover in it. I mean, maybe not us, but my kids probably would. Somebody's cat is going to be very, very happy with the his tank box. That's my suspicion. Star says safety straps in a vehicle like that? Really? Isn't that like putting a seatbelt on a motorcycle? Yes. Yes, it is. Payne's Toy Samples only issue is the rocket pegs don't stay in. Had to glue them in. That's my nitpick for sure. And Payne says yes, Star it is, but safety Cobra safety manager insists they have belts. Oh, you know what? I think I just found of a use for my Loki, my Marvel Legends MCU Loki figure. He's going to be the safety officer. He'll have a little clipboard, and he'll be the guy that's like, "Oh, check the seat belts." What's going on, Oz? Everybody's saying hello to everybody. I'm getting a magnet to use on the hole in mine and on the back of the propulsion system. Good call. That's a good idea. Oz says heat it. Yeah. I don't. I mean, some things you do have to heat. That's just the way that it is. GI Joe stuff, I don't like heating, and the reason that I don't is because I don't think, generally speaking, people are. I genuinely think that this line is still a little bit designed for kids, and so kids aren't going to get boiling water or like a hair dryer or a heat gun and warm one of these things up so that they can use it. That's just not going to happen. So I like to try at least to do it without heat personally, just for that reason. But maybe I'm nuts. It's sad they didn't use that door under the trouble bubble to open. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought the exact same thing. There's a little hatch like on the bottom here. And I thought for sure that was going to open because it looks like a little door with a little handle. But I mean, maybe it does, but I couldn't get it to open on the other one. And I didn't try it on this one, but I'm going to assume that this one doesn't open either. But I had the exact same thought. Super glue is your friend on those missile tabs. Yeah, but again, I just wish I didn't have to glue them. That's kind of my complaint. Again, just like the gun having to be heated up, I don't want to have to heat up the tab to glue it in. Raypaz, that would have been neat. Well, what would have been neat is if that little thing opened and you could like there's other little like plugs on here. I'm still convinced that this goes somewhere else because there's too many like spots where it can like there's too many little tabs. There's a little hole like a little like that seems too obvious not to like plug in some. I'm convinced that there's still somewhere that plugs in better. But we'll see. There probably isn't, but I for some reason I just think there is. Do you think that's ABS plastic? Yes, definitely. I think where it's like it's the common plastic that gets used for this. I'm pretty sure that's ABS plastic. I don't know my plastics that well, but I would say that yes, it is. Okay, moving on to the Tele-Viper, which to me, I did the Trouble Bubble first because I care less about the Trouble Bubble than I do about the Tele-Viper. So, super iconic. I'm so glad they didn't change these. He gets his kind of like sonic gun that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But the design is just really cool. It's unique. It's fun. It's it's the Tele-Viper gun, you know? And they did a great job with it. The detailing is great. The sculpting is great. Like there's even like sculpting inside there that you can see. There's also a hole there so you can port, you know, effects in there. Now I think we're getting blue effects. If I'm not mistaken, we're getting blue effects with the 788 fire team. I would use them on a weapon like this because the blast effects, you know, when you get the sort of red, orange standard blast effects, work great on most weapons. The blue ones I like for the more kind of sci-fi weapons. So we got that. We got the backpack, and this is very much, you know, the vintage inspired backpack. It's the same shape as the vintage one. It's got the cool keypad, which does have a nice hit of some purple tampo deco on there as well. And we get the hose, which is always, I love the hose. We all love the hose, don't we? That is going to plug onto the gun. And again, look, okay, the missile tab can't have a mushroom on it, but the gun can. Come on, Hasbro, do better, right? Are you with me? Are you with me, guys and gals? If there's gals. Ray, I'm with you. I'm convinced that hash opens somehow. At least I want it to. You know what? I might get so bored. Look, I might cancel the channel. I might become a hermit, and I might spend the time to like cut it open, and figure that out. But because it's on the bottom, you're not gonna see it. Like if I wreck that, you're never gonna see it, so it doesn't matter. Maybe I'll do that just because it drives me crazy. It's a missed opportunity, right? Star, if that's a mine to be dropped, then maybe it's supposed to face down. Well, yeah, but I mean it wouldn't fit. Like I agree. But there's nowhere else that I could try to like I was trying to figure out where I could sort of port it on, where it would fit, where I could like, you know, where yeah, it just does it. It should, but it doesn't. Plug in vertically, not horizontally. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe somebody else has figured it out, but as far as I can tell, nothing. Take your pick. Take your pick. All right, but the Tele-Viper gets his very traditional, you know, vintage version 1 inspired backpack and sort of blaster there. He comes with the Caucasian head. We also get an African American. It could just be African. I don't know. I don't know where this guy's from. We get that head as well, which is great. I think it's just like a mirrored expression from that one, which I'll sort of show in a second. And then we get this really cool like masked head, which makes me think of like it has a real anime vibe to it, like a Ghost in the Shell type of like near future VR digital thing. This could be, you know, either a cybernetic, like a like a android's head or a cyborg's head, or it could be like a VR type headset. Uh, Either way, I think it's a pretty cool addition. I'm probably never going to use it because I only got two. So I'm going to use this on one and I'm going to use that on the other. But one more thing that makes me think that it's more of like a Android type thing is that on the back it's actually got like a neural implant looking kind of device. So anyway, really cool detailing on these. Really good with the paint as well. I don't know that you see it in most of the pictures, but there's a little hit of purple, next to the blue. The deco on the face is really good. We had that wave that had really bad deco on on everything, and they seem to have sort of corrected that. Now, like I was saying, head sculpt wise, the sneer seems to go like in the opposite direction, and I can't decide if this is this. Nah, it's not. It's a different head sculpt. I thought that they had just mirrored one to create the other and then just painted it, but it's a different face. I'm 99% sure that it's a different face. So that's cool. They did a good job. The sneering face, both of them look really, really good. Like I said, the paint apps, the bit of purple that's on the head is great. The purple vest on the blue, like this is one of those figures that for me is like an iconic figure in terms of the deco, in terms of the helmet. The only thing I wish is that we got heads that had a message, scrolling across, but I can understand why they wouldn't do that. It would permanently be there, and a blank mask is going to make more sense. He's got a nice belt with lots of little things, lots of little bits and bobs and pockets. He's got the padded, or sort of like the quilted padding on the shoulders, which is awesome. Again, my nitpick about this is that the version one, vintage Tele-Viper just had, and I get why it doesn't, but the vintage one had, just an unsleeved arm. It was just, you know, Caucasian skin tone because he was Caucasian. Now, when you throw this in the mix, I get why they did sort of a painted arm. The problem is I know that this is reused from just a flesh toned arm. So I wish they would have done a full sleeve. So that's my sort of nitpick, is that I would have rather just see a full, blue sleeve than this weird black arm with muscle on it. Again, nitpick. These were day one buys. I did not hesitate to buy them despite that. I think the Range Viper, I think, does the same thing where it's like a flesh arm just painted black. They were like, okay, well, we're not going to give him a skin tone. We're just going to give him a painted arm. It seems weird. Just give him a full sleeve and move on, or give us multiple options. Give me sort of the first batch of Trouble Bubbles comes with like one skin tone and the second batch comes with another. I don't know. Do variants, do chase variants, make people angry. I don't know. But anyway, the figure is awesome. I'm really, really excited for this figure. Because it's one of my favorite Vipers, if I'm being perfectly honest. Oh, I didn't sort of call out the detail on the arm there. He's got like his little wrist communicator. There's some it's not gonna it's is it gonna pick that up? It's not gonna pick that up very well, but you can see that there's some detail there. There's some little graphs and things like that going on. So altogether, just a really well done figure that I'm very, very pleased with, very happy to have in the collection. And whoa, come on, bud, let's get this. He's kicking the camera. How inconsiderate. It's a lot harder to do this sort of out in front of a camera than it is to just do it, out in front of yourself. Trust me. So I'm not going to do it. He can hold it very clumsily without sort of having his finger in the trigger. But And then, like I said, I got one loaded up in the trouble bubble, and it looks really, really good. Like I'm not gonna lie, it looks the proportions are right, it fits right. I swapped the head, so like I said, I'm gonna have that guy, and I'm gonna have that guy. So I have two Tele-Vipers that look a little bit different enough for me. Tons of glare, so you can't actually see that. But anyway, really, really great figure, a fun vehicle too. You know, not a vehicle that I was super excited to get, but a vehicle that I'm super excited to own nonetheless. That looks good. Questions, comments. Let's see what you guys are saying. Ray Paz, I like the naked head the most. I like both of them. I like both of the like the flesh toned heads. Like I said, this one I probably won't use. It's a little too sci-fi for me. If I get more, so you know, in a world where eCollectibles is able to get the trouble bubble sort of after the fact, I ordered two from Pulse, which is not ideal in Canada, but it is what it is. You know, I wanted to get them, so I didn't sort of risk not getting them. So I got a couple from Pulse. If eCollectibles gets them, probably get I'd probably get one, maybe even two more, because they're fun. And I think, you know, for play value, they're a great size, you know, like, and you can just hold the jetpack and whoosh it around, you know. It's a very fun toy, which is really that's my criteria for if something is a good toy. Is it swooshable? Can I whoosh it around and play with it as a toy? It fits the bill. They're great. Luke Poulin always used the mine as an underwater mine as a kid. Looks like that anyway. So for me, that's an accessory for torpedo. That's a good call. And I think you could actually do a really cool, like with a wire. You could put a wire in there and do a wire as though it was like actually tethering the. So if you were doing, you know, toy photography or whatever, I think you could do some fun stuff with those the torpedoes. Um, Ray Pat. Oh, are you saying you like the masthead the most? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. As like a nameless trooper, sure. Um, you know, I guess that sort of you could have as many as you want if you use the masthead, because you won't have any issues as far as you know, having to sort of having them not look the same is what I'm trying to say, right? If you had 8 Tele-Vipers and you just use that head, it would look like 8 of the same figure. If you use the masked head, it would look like 8 troops. So um Star said, and Cobra can't seem to win a single battle. It's getting more and more clear all the time. Even Cobra themselves have no idea where that mine goes. That might be the case. That might be the case. They may just be so inept. That's why they're always losing. It's an air mine, so it floats like the ones in space on Ahsoka. Supposedly. Yeah, supposedly. Okay, I'll take it. Having a marquee for goggles has got to give guys migraines. Well, I'm pretty sure that it's like a heads up display for the Televipers. Like it's not meant to be a marquee. It's actually what it's like. It's backwards. Uh, am I making sense? If I was looking at the Televiper, from what I remember, if I was looking at the Televiper, it 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 would look backwards because it's actually on the inside of their visor. Jeremy says, I like the Under Armour look myself. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's it's you know, I get it. And like I said, I get why they did it. It's certainly not something where I'm like, I'm not gonna throw a fit or message send Hasbro an angry letter or something like that. I think it's well, I mean, look, anybody that sort of paid attention to anything I've ever said will know that when I nitpick, I mean, the figures are right here and I love them. I'm not saying I don't like them. It's just, yeah, you gotta be objective. You gotta sort of express what you might have done different. Not that anybody cares, but Jeremy, I put Cobra Island Troopers in my two bubbles. I'm gonna put Vipers in. For some reason, I think Vipers are best suited for the trouble bubble personally. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. Everybody sort of got their character or their figure. Whether it's a Viper, like with the Joes, right? People have a character that they remember in their childhood vehicle or what have you. Um, I didn't even own a Trouble Bubble as a kid. I genuinely thought they were a little bit goofy then as well. But for some reason, I think a standard Viper I think suits the Trouble Bubble. Um, in terms of like this being a small, very maneuverable vehicle that can kind of get a Viper in quickly and get them in quick strike, get out kind of thing. I don't even know if that's what a Viper is, for. That's just in my head canon. Um, Star says, "Is it whoosh or swoosh?" I'm using that from now on. I I think the noise is whoosh. I think the action is swoosh. So yes to both. I don't know. Do what you want. They're your toys. Jeremy, Vipers are my favorite army builder, so fantastic choice for the bubbles. The Vipers are cool. I think I have 6 of the Vipers. Um, which is not a flex. I know they weren't super easy to get, but I was lucky, and where I live, everything's been easy to get. So I'm not complaining. And I'm just saying, uh, the Vipers are cool. They just the Vipers were my sort of like coil motorcycle gang as well. The Vipers are just cool, man. Like that helmet to me seems like kind of a motorcycle type helmet, but it's just they're badasses. Vipers are just badasses. I mean, change my mind. But like I said, the Tele-Vipers really really cool. I realize that I need like random diorama computer for these guys to sit at. If you guys aren't familiar with random diorama, check them out. Um, he's designed this really really cool computer, and now I want like a console or whatever to sort of go with them. But Jeremy, 24 Vipers here between all the different colorways. I have a problem. No. There's 3 colorways, right? 4 colorways if you include the officer. So you get the Cobra Island Viper, you got the 3-pack Viper, you got the officer that came in the 3-pack, and then you get the Crimson Vipers. 24, it's not that bad. I can imagine that you've got sort of a breakdown in the range of like 12 of the. Oh, if you bought the 3-packs, you would have like 12 of the blue ones, 6 of the officers, and then 6 crimson. Is that, did I get that right? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, um 24 Vipers between all the different colorways. You know what, Jeremy? You don't have a problem. You have a passion, and that is the character, the figure that you love. Don't let anybody tell you that it is wrong. You're not hurting anybody, and if that's what you're into, you be you. Star, I think the soldier alone looks pretty intimidating until the climb in those That's you're not wrong. It does. It's like you know what this reminds me of? You know when you see those like souped up like four-wheeled shop rider sort of elderly person wheelchair errand running things? That's a treble bubble. If you put four wheels on this, it's a shop rider with that funny dome, the funny plastic dome that goes on it to keep the rain out. Oh man, these Tele-Vipers getting old. They got to get around with a treble bubble now. Anyway, um, it's been fun, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you guys. As I always say, it's more fun to open toys with friends, and I thank you guys for hanging out on a Friday night. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, feel free to hit the thumbs down, dislike button. But yeah, I've got a bunch more classified stuff to open, among other things. So stay tuned to the channel. I will be opening a couple more figures next week. Might do a couple videos. Other than that, we have got a new episode of Monkey Business coming on Sunday with Brick and I talking about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. We're going to be talking about Animal Warriors of the Kingdom custom figures that people have done and some toy photography. We're going to be looking at some fan stuff. So that should be a ton of fun. Hopefully you guys can join us for that. Whether you're an AWOC fan or not, it's usually a good time. So tune into that on Sunday and every Sunday. And then, like I said, hit that notifications if you want to see the, oh my, that's better. Normally I don't rant for this long. If you want to stay up to date with what videos I'm doing, hit that notification button, bell down below there, and hopefully we'll see you guys all again very, very soon. Thanks. Bye bye.